Okay, it's Monday, September 19th, and if you don't know me, my name is Darren Gertis. I am a professor that does these daily updates about what's going on in Ukraine. I've done it for north of 100 days now, and I'm trying to frame out events and tell you what it is. And if I see patterns emerge, I will try to use a pattern. And here, I'm using Newton's third law. That his third law states that for every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. Okay, so that's kind of what's going on in Ukraine right now, and it's really interesting. So I'm just going to go through the headlines really quickly for you, and hopefully this will help you be informed about what's going on in Ukraine. And if you like what you see, please press like and help me spread this. Okay, invaders fire at, I can't pronounce this name, Pivden-Ukrainska nuclear power plant. Somebody said just pronounce every letter and you'll be close. Okay, so at this nuclear power plant, they hit and a missile hit 300 meters from the nuclear power plant reactors. You know what that looks like? That looks like this: 300 meters. Here's a track. Okay, if you start here and you run around the track and you don't do the last loop, that's 300 meters. Okay, 400 meters is the whole track. So 300 meters is 3/4 of the way around. That's how close they were to another Chernobyl. That was really, really bad, really dangerous. Okay, um, the joint head of the Defense Forces said that the fire control that we hold over the crossings and transport our arteries across to the Dnipro makes them understand that they're caught between the defenses and the right bank. Where are we talking about? We're talking about here in Kherson. So there's 20,000 Russians or so somewhere on this. The Ukrainians are here and they're chipping away at the area, and this is the right bank of the river, and they can't really cross because there's no bridges. It's very difficult for them to cross except for in very small units, and they have fire support, so they're targeting at that. So it's a bad thing to be a Russian soldier right now. Ukraine says it's down 200 aircraft, a mark of Russian failures in the sky. Okay, so I don't know about 200 aircraft. They may be counting um, planes, helicopters, and drones. And if that's the case, then that 200 figure works well. The reason that I'm skeptical about that is because the Russians only started with a little less than 400 dedicated to Ukraine of fixed wing aircraft. The Americans say that Ukraine has shot down 55 warplanes, so that's pretty good. And they have retained 80% of their air force, so that's even better. So I think that in this article, they're talking about 50, or sorry, they're talking about the 200, including all the vehicles, including drones and such. Now, what's fascinating is how they did it. They did it with air defense artillery, not so much plane to plane, but just using the air defenses. And so they're fighting in a very different way than they were expected to fight. And because they were able to be successful with their air defense artillery, the Russians have not been able to bring combat combined arms, infantry supported by tanks, supported by artillery, supported by aircraft, all at the same time. It's been much more tricky for them. The Ukrainians now are more hardened, and the resolve is greater than ever to take back the land. Why? 146 bodies were exhumed, the vast majority of civilians, including 2 children. And it's clear that there are mine explosive injuries, shrapnel, stab wounds, signs of torture. So they're really, like, I mean, if you were trying to convince them to stop, I don't think you could convince them to stop at this point. Of course, the Kremlin has denied allegations that Russian forces had committed war crimes, but they did it in Bucha as well, and this looks like it could be almost worse than Bucha at this point. Ukraine marches farther into liberated lands. Separatists now, as they move farther, as they take more ground, and where are they taking this ground? They're taking the ground here. Okay, see this line? This is the border of Luhansk. Remember how the Russians controlled all of it? Well, as they move farther into this, separatists are calling for urgent referendums. Watch this. So this is 914, 915, 16, 17, 18. See what they just did? They just took back a city, or the first town within the occupied land. So the separatists don't actually own all of Luhansk anymore. So you're starting to see calls, and Russia no longer has full control over Luhansk. Even the ISW just pointed that out. There's urgent discussions on September 19th amongst Russia's proxies for the need for Russia to immediately annex Luhansk and Donetsk oblasts, and you see that in Russian media. Luhansk People's Republic wants to become part of Russia immediately. You see this in RT. A referendum on joining Russia should be immediate, Civic Chamber of Luhansk People's Republic said on Monday. And then in Donetsk, the Donetsk People's Republic, DPR, must immediately hold a referendum on joining Russia, Civic Chamber said on Monday. Dennis Pushlin's calling for decisive actions. So one thing is leading to another. So torture is leading to pushing further, which is leading to Russia no longer having full control, leading to Luhansk and the people's and the Luhansk and Donetsk People's Republics saying, no, we have to have immediate referendum, which will push them to move further and faster. That's the equal and opposite reaction. And that's what I'm predicting. Zelensky is saying that there's no lull after victories. This is simply preparation. And while he's doing that, he's doing 20 other things, including talking to BlackRock's CEO, Larry Fink, about the possibility of private investments in Ukraine after the war. This guy's a machine. Okay. Experts predicted a stalemate in Ukraine. Here's why they kept getting it wrong. And essentially, it came down to leadership. Why do experts keep overestimating Russian strength? Because by focusing on military hardware, experts often miss the software of war, the quality of leadership. Now, I did an entire explainer on this yesterday. If you haven't seen it, go back one day and review that explainer on the Russian military. Why is the Russian military so bad? I mean, we all thought it was the second largest military, the second toughest military in the world. It turns out to be the second toughest military in Ukraine, and that's a very different picture. Okay, thank you for your time, and I hope that that was helpful and informative, and I'll see you tomorrow.